Welcome, everybody. You're on Artist on Record starring ADIKA Live. And tonight we have a great guest. We have Ted Nugent with his new record, Detroit Muscle. You can pre-order that now. Links are in the description down below. Also, make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe if it's your first time here.
1, 2, 3.
First of all, thank you for being here.
Why not? Who's going to stop me, Stefan? You know what I mean? If you want to talk about my music, I'm full on, brother.
I want to talk about everything with you, and you, if you dislike me, you leave any time, it's okay. But we have a mutual friend.
Who's one of our many mutual friends?
Tommy Clefettis. Do you know him?
Get out of here. You have a great best friend because he's one of the best human beings that have ever pummeled the animal breeding soundtrack for his fellow man. Yeah, he's a great American, a great Motor City force to reckon with, and just a good man. Have I had the greatest bandmates in the history of sonic bombast or what?
Well, I know another guy that you play with, your bass player, Greg Smith, who's another monster.
All my bass players, all my drummers, all my keyboard players, all my singers, all my fellow guitar players, I've been surrounded by the most spirited musical warriors, just really musical authority, musical soul, beyond the road less traveled adventurers of musical chaos and insanity. So yeah, I'm a lucky son of a bitch. So when I come off really positive, which I always do, it's because of the unbelievable positive people I've been surrounded with all my life.
Well, you know what, Ted? You have a new music out there. Everybody in YouTube, podcast land, it is Ted Nugent, Detroit Muscle. It is out. It is coming out. And he has 2 singles that is out. And you can find him on YouTube. Links will be down below. We're going to talk about Ted, about Detroit Muscle, the roots of Detroit, Ted's music, everything uncensored, unfiltered.
The masses, real music lovers, love my music, and I really love real music lovers. And I suspect, Stefan, that you are one of them, because if you want to find out, if you're a friend of Tommy Clefettis, if you love a guy like that, who is such a musical force of nature, then you obviously qualify as an asset column music lover in the American dream. So you and I are blood brothers, man. We really emphasizing there. Yeah, musicians love the music, and most of them are very dedicated to expand their musical horizons and go into uncharted musical adventure and territory. But what you're really emphasizing, which is why you love Tommy Clefettis, which is why I love Tommy Clefettis, which is why Tommy Clefettis loves me, is because it's the most underemphasized element of the music that is so powerful in everybody's life, and that is the work ethic. The work ethic of a Tommy Clefettis and a Greg Smith and Jason Hartless and Tommy Aldridge and Mick Brown and KJ Knight and Cliff Davies and Johnny Benagic. My God, Marco Mendoza, are you kidding me? These unbelievable gifted people are their work ethic is even more powerful than their musical genius and gifts. And that's really underrated, because I think people that love the music, most of them want to know, where does it come from? And where'd you come up with this idea? And how did you get to be successful? And why does your music mean so much to me? It really boils down to, beyond gifts, talents, and vision, none of that would work without a work ethic. So let's celebrate the musical work ethic that has really been underemphasized for so many years.
And you always mention the Funk Brothers, and a lot of people out there watching don't even know who the hell they are, Ted. It gets me crazy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, everybody take a deep breath, because the most important musical foundation for every song that anybody loves, I don't care what genre it might be, or what type of song it might be, or what the content of the lyrics or the message or the non-message or the anti-message or just the groove, all music that moves music lovers was powerfully impacted and motivated and inspired by the Hitsville, USA, Motown Funk Brothers. You need to know these people. Everything, every band. I know James Brown with the famous Flames, they had a work ethic that was unbelievable, the hardest working man in show business. But all of our favorite music My dogs love James Brown. Whenever I mention James Brown, they go wild. But the Funk Brothers were so inspiring because when you listen to those unbelievable hit records and those great compositions by those masterful authors at Motown, Holland Dozier Holland and like Marvin Gaye and Supremes and the Four Tops and the Temptations, Little Stevie Wonder, are you kidding me? Every great band you love, especially classic rock. Now, maybe I suspect the Motley Crues and the Poisons and some of their later heavy metal type bands and pop bands, they might know this and they might not, and I'm not discrediting them, but there would be no Motley Crue if it wasn't for the Funk Brothers, because the Funk Brothers inspired the Stones and the Beatles and the Who and the Kinks, that inspired Aerosmith and Cheap Trick and Ted Nugent and Montrose and all the greatest bands that are still on tour, because that music is so soulful, because we were all impacted by the mighty Funk Brothers.
If you dissect it and you listen to a James Jamerson bass line, which is how great, Ted. Take the form right here. Go ahead.
Well, my bass player in the Amboy Dukes, Gregor Rama, everything I do comes somewhere from. And then the acceleration of that by Mitch Ryan, the Detroit Wheels. CC Rider, come on, see me. Get the hell out of here. My goosebumps have goosebumps. So James Jamerson, Bob Babbitt, my guitar teacher, Joe Podorsa, Capital School of Music, Grand River, Detroit, 18, Michigan. He was my guitar teacher in 59 and 60. And Joe Podorsa, who just passed away last year, God rest his soul, he has inspired everybody from Wayne Kramer and Kevin Russell and Mark Farner and Dick Wagner and Derek St. Holmes and myself and Jimmy McCarty. But my guitar teacher was also a session bass player for the Motown Funk Brothers when Bob Babbitt, God rest his soul, and James Jamerson, God rest his soul, couldn't make the gig. So all that Funk Brother influence has found its way into any music that makes you want to shake your ass and grind. It's because of either James Brown, Stax Volt, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, as epitomized by the mighty Funk Brothers.
Wow. So he was part of that. That's pretty big, man.
My guitar teacher. Now, I don't know. Hey, Stefan, can you hear this Birdland? Does it sound like Birdland? Yeah. I play this stuff every day. And that's that Detroit spirit. We just can't wait to express ourselves musically. And I'm so lucky I was born in Detroit in 1948 when all that was coming just like a firestorm of groove and work ethic and uncharted compositional territory. And Mitch Ryan and the Detroit Wheels established this high energy thing that impacted everybody from the MC5 to the Brownsville Station, to the Amboy Dukes, to the Rationals, to Mark Farner and the Grand Funk Railroad. And to this day, Kid Rock and Eminem, I guarantee it, Eminem might not admit it because he's too stoned all the time, but anybody that might like that kind of music, the Funk Brothers impacted them. There is a Funk Brother thing, a pulse in all the best music in the world. Listen to what Gregor Rama played on that Fender P bass through a B15, Ampeg B15, which was the holy grail back then. Everybody, that's what all the Funk Brothers played. Ampeg B15, sometimes an 18 live on the stage, but a B15 down in Hitsville in the pit, in the Snake Pit. And the Fender P bass, obviously ubiquitous. But listen to what Gregor Rama, this 15-year-old savant, Listen to his bass line on Journey to the Center of the Mind by the Amboy Dukes. I wrote, when I write a song, I don't really write a song, I ejaculate them, because when I pick up my guitar, licks happen. So I come up with the, I come up with this grinding, high energy, fun teenage guitar lick. And then I said, Greg, I'd like the bass to go. Now that's a nice, and with a bit more of a bass tone. Now that has a pulse, the ka, all those 16th notes. That's important. It keeps going. And that's what you're talking about, the right hand. Center of the mind. Listen to what this genius, God rest his soul, Greg.
15, and he was 15, you said at the time.
15, Stefan.
Wow.
Johnny Bonangic was 15 when he recorded Devil with the Blue Dress and Jenny Take a Ride. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
I was 16 when I created the Amboy Duke stuff. My point is, it's another example of the, I think God loves me special, because he sent Greg Arama into my life and listened to the bass maneuverability without ever losing the groove. And do you know that James Jamerson and Bob Babbitt of the Mighty Funk Brothers would actually come to see the Amboy Dukes to watch Greg Arama play bass?
Wow.
Talking about, wow, is that, what is that? That's like, I don't know, having Dwayne Eddy come and try to figure out a Ted Nugent lick, which, by the way, he probably should have. But my point is that I was surrounded by that hierarchy, that miraculous virtuoso that Tommy Clufettos represents. There's nothing he can't do.
You talk about Journey to the Center of the Mind, and it's covered by Ramones, covered it, Slade covered it. Now, Ted, I wanted the album was 67, 68, but you wrote it. When did you write the song?
Well, again, I don't write. I've never sat down, Stefan, ever. I'm in my man cave cuckoo's nest. I don't know what you can see here, but
I love it.
It's I got my guns and my ammo and my bows and arrows and my inspirational deer that I've killed and fed my family with, because there's more spiritual protein than there is flesh protein when you are a hunter with the bow and arrow. But the point is that when I get in from doing my outdoor chores, which I do every day, I have the dirtiest hands in the history of music. I gut and skin and butcher, and I check traps, and I kill fur bearers, and I manage wildlife so there's no disease and there's no overpopulation, and the habitat is in primary optimal condition for real biodiversity to create clean air, soil, and water. Hello, that's what hunting, fishing, and trapping ultimately accomplishes. The point is, when I'm out doing that original primal man thing each day, when I grab the guitar, I come in every day and I wear my dogs out, I get a little coffee, I give Shemaine many kisses, and I grab my Birdland and I... I don't know what that was that I just played. I've never played that before in my life.
Wow.
I have no idea what that was, but it was cool as shit.
It was cool.
My point is that when I come up with a lick, like when you hear the opening track to Detroit Muscle, check out this lick. I came in one day and I went... And I played it. I went, God damn, is that cool? What? And I strap your ass in. I got a fire-breathing Mopar. Downtown Detroit is like a rock and roll dream. Kick out the jams if you really want to go far. The Motor City Soul gonna make you scream. Well, I didn't write that down until after I sang it, because the lick catapults cadence, a lyrical vision. Detroit Muscle. It's not just about Detroit horsepower. It's about Detroit rock and roll horsepower. The unbelievable lineage of Detroit powerhouse musical forces. And again, going back to all things Motown, Mitch riding the Detroit Wheels, certainly Brownsville Station, and I named them, you know, the MC5 and the Rationals and the Scott Richardson case, the Amboy Dukes. There's so many the Grand Funk. Are you kidding me?
It's too much in the water out there. There's too much.
Yeah. So when I sit down, I think the worst thing, and obviously there's a lot of composers who sit down and go, okay, what do you think the tempo should be? What do you want to sing about today? What do you think what chord should we? I can't do that. I can't go, geez, what kind of music should I unleash at this moment? No, I just, you know, if you're going to be a samurai, remember Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai when he was messing up. Do we have to keep this PG-13? I was wondering.
No, Ted, okay. I'm from Brooklyn. Let's go crazy.
All right, because when Tom Cruise was fucking up with the samurai sword, the samurai master approached him and looked him in the eye and went, too many minds. You need to be the path of the sword. Go beyond the sword, be its path. And I got to tell you, here I am in my cuckoo's nest, and I live samurai every day. Archery is a martial arts. Right next to my guitar is my bow and arrow. And I come down. I do not have too many minds. I become the path of my life. And I've been doing this since I could walk, Stefan. I've been shooting a bow and arrow since I could walk. I went from the tit to the bow and arrow. In fact, I think I stayed on the tit even during the bow and arrow. My point is that when I get right here, there is no politics, there's no evil, there's no corruption, there's no crime. There's no Joe Biden, there's no Hillary Clinton, there's no evil forces. And when I pick up the guitar, that same martial arts freedom allows these licks to just burst. Tommy will tell you that whenever I got in the dressing room, I'd pick up my Birdland and I'd turn it on, and the first lick that came out, Tommy and Marco would go, what's that? That's cool as hell. And I go, I have no idea, but it is cool as hell. I got to remember this lick. And that's where Raw Dogs and War Hogs came from. Again, this lick just happened to me. See if I can remember it. Now, as Tommy was here, he would just start flailing.
Amen.
So I live such a Primal Scream lifestyle. There's my Primal Scream German Shepherd there. It's Coco. Coco came to the sound of the Primal Scream. That I've been clean and sober for 73.4 years. And if you don't poison your gifts from God, they not only continue to work, but they expand. I know that's pretty cocky of me because I'm way beyond pretty cocky. But when I pick up the guitar or my bow and arrow, or go with my dogs, or cast a worm in the lake, or squeeze Shemaine at the stove. There's nothing like squeezing Shemaine at the stove, by the way. It's as pure and primal as your first piece of ass, because it's not contemplated or strategized or formulated. It's just, I live such a raw, primal, unafraid, uninhibited, instinctive lifestyle.
Yeah.
That I think those words describe my music. In fact, I know they do. And I know Keith Richards creates and Slash and so many, and Stephen and Joe and just amazing artists. They don't live this kind of life and they still create primal stuff. God bless them and thank you for that. Mm-hmm. But in my world of hunting, fishing, trapping, being one with God's miracle as a hands-on participant, it so cleanses my soul that I think all my guitar licks, even as an old man with a silver beard, I think they're as raw as that 12-year-old kid in Detroit with his first amplifier. I just know it is. When you hear the whole record, Detroit Muscle, you're going to just shit because it's so high energy, thanks to Greg and Jason. And by the way, I mentioned Brownsville Station. Michael Lutz, the author of Smoking in the Boys' Room, is my co-producer on a number of records. Wow. He's just a musical force. And Tim and Andy Paddlin out of Detroit. These guys are just walking, breathing, throttling musical celebrants. They're maniac music people. And when we all get together, someday I would hope that you could witness it in the barn, in the studio. It's out of body. It is. I
heard about the barn from Tommy. It's magical. He was telling me it's something
so
else.
Intense, and it's so inspiring because I'm surrounded by the Tommy Clafettos and the Jason Hartless and the Michael Lutzes and the Tim and Andy and Greg Smith, and so there's this orgy of musical adventure and challenge and celebration and defiance and sex and barbecue. And it's like our middle fingers are on fire, but we don't hurt anybody.
You know what? When you pick up that Gibson Birdland, for people out there, originally it's known for a jazz guitar player, and you pick that piece of wood up. You get possessed. I see it. You get possessed, but then you add the grit, the dirt, the soul of Detroit, but you do it Nugent style. And it's just incredible. Watch to see how you turn that piece of wood into something else.
It's such an instrument. My God, I remember my band, the Lourdes, who won the Battle of the Bands in 1963 in Detroit. And we opened up for a band called Billy Lee and the Rivieras and a new band out of Detroit called Martha and the Vandellas at the Walled Lake Casino just west of Detroit, 1960. We did it for 1960, 61, 62. And Billy Lee and the Rivieras eventually changed their name to Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. And I want everybody to remember the name Funk Brothers and the name Jimmy McCarty. Jimmy McCarty was on stage with a Fender twin amp with Billy Lee and the Rivieras, who became Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels a couple of years later. And he was playing a Gibson Birdland, which was such a beautiful guitar. I mean, this is another one. Look how pretty. What a beautiful,
it is a
piece
beautiful
of
look at
American
that
craftsmanship. Look at that. Look at how pretty. And it's a carved archtop American spruce, porous, breathable, rich voicing guitar for that jazz. And I can get those voicings by changing the tone. That's what a Birdland was meant to do. But when you start turning up, I mean,
fierce, it's fierce, it's sexy, it's strong, it'll kick anybody's ass. It is powerful. It's the shit that you're going to take in the combat. It's just the takeover. It's beautiful. It's great.
It's a weapon of mass construction. So when I saw Jimmy McCarty play a Fender twin reverb with a Gibson Birdland guitar, my little 12-year-old brain went, I need to pursue that. So eventually down the road in 65, from Lyle Gilman at the Roselle School of Music in Roselle, Illinois, I bought my first Birdland. And it makes you play a certain way. And the real trick to play a certain way is to play all the time. If you are really in love with making music, then you have to play all the time. And as you're playing all the time, you find adventure on the guitar neck and from the sounds and where your ears are in relationship to the amplifiers and the speakers. And by by exploring the sonics and the physical and the spiritual and the rhythmical and notes that aren't legal. I play notes on the new record, Detroit Muscle, that God hasn't even authorized yet. You go for uncharted territory. And as a bass player, you know that when you're in the key of A, there are historical parameters that you probably have. Some music guy might tell you, well, this is where you need to be. No. If that's where I need to be, then I ain't going there. And because I struggled to play Chuck Berry licks, I was so frustrated. I just wasn't as good as the other guitar players in Detroit when I was a little boy. I mean, Don Henderson from the Gang could outplay me, and George Cole, who took my place in the Lures, he could outplay me. But I had a certain way that I played because I played all the time. And the Motown Funk Brothers and James Brown's rhythm section, and even Lonnie Mack and Dwayne Eddy and the Ventures, and then eventually the Beach Boys and the Stones and the Beatles, they all had a black influence, a Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley influence, James Brown influence that made me go for rhythm, never separating the lick from the rhythm. The rhythm drove the lick. The lick didn't drive the rhythm. So I found a pulse in all my songs. You'll hear, and Tommy will tell you this, that they all have a definitive pulsation that inspires patterns and lyrics and ideas, wango tango. And so in 2022, in Clusterfuck 2022, I am so blessed and lucky and humbled and honored that God still keeps me open-minded and adventurous and pure and passionate. As I mentioned a minute ago, I get goosebumps when I play my licks. I love my licks. Tommy will tell you, I can't wait to get out there on stage and play the first song. I can't wait. And on this tour in Clusterfuck 22, Greg and Jason and I, we can't wait to play Stranglehold and Wang Dang Sweet Poontang, Great White Buffalo and Cat Scratch and Hibernation and Stranglehold and Paralyzed and Good Friends in a Bottle of Wine and Dog Eat Dog and the stuff off the new record, American Campfire, Detroit Muscle, Driving Blind, Born in the Motor City. So I'm a lucky guitar playing son of a bitch because I have the best people in the world at my side.
That was Ted Nugent. If you want to see more of this episode, unedited, uncut, check us out on Patreon for the unedited episode of Ted Nugent. Until then, everybody, we will see you Saturday night, all here on Honest on Record, starring ADIKA Live. Until then, who loves you, baby? We do. Mwah. What are you doing here? Just click on the box right here for some other great episodes. Now get out of here, you crazy kids.